Physical and motor skills. Accessing switch. Today we're going to look at how to use switch control. Switch control is an accessibility feature on the iPhone and iPad that allows people with limited mobility to have full use of their device with the help of ability switches and other adaptive devices. Items on the screen are sequentially highlighted and can be activated by tapping, moving your head in front of the selfie camera, or pressing adaptive switches. You can also use point scanning and gestures, like pinching to zoom. You can even use multiple switches. Here's how to use switch control. On a side note, switch control is easiest to set up if you pair your adaptive device first in your iPhone or iPad's Bluetooth menu. The first thing you want to do is to work on how to enable switch control. Start off firstly by launching settings from your home screen, then tap accessibility. After this, tap switch control. Then tap the switch control on or off switch. It will be green when the feature is enabled, and you can turn off the switch control whenever you want by following the same steps as above. The next thing you want to do is how to add a new switch. Again, launch settings from your home screen, tap accessibility, tap switch control, and then go to the option tap switches. After this, tap add new switch, then tap a source, and you can either choose external, which you will have to activate your external switch. You can choose screen, you will have to select full screen afterward, or camera. If you choose this camera, you also have to select actions for left head movement and right head movement. Then tap the switch action you want the switch to do, and then tap long press to set up a long press switch action. This is optional. Next, we will look at how to delete a switch. Again, all you have to do is launch your settings from your home screen, go to accessibility, then tap switch control, tap on switches, and if there's any switches that you don't want, you can swipe left on the switch you want to delete, and then tap delete. Now we're going to look at how to create a new recipe. A recipe is a set of actions that you can temporarily assign to switches in place of their normal actions. You can use recipes to perform frequently repeated or complex actions like turning pages in iBooks. You'll need to have an adaptive switch connected to your device, but to get into the new recipe section, do the following. Launch settings from your home screen, then tap accessibility and then switch control. Tap recipes and then create new recipe. From there, you'll be able to name your recipe and configure it with your adaptive switch or other assistive devices. We will now look at how to change your scanning style. Changing the scanning style will change how you move through items on the screen. Auto scanning is the default, but if you prefer to be in control, you have these options. Firstly, launch settings from your home screen, then accessibility, tap switch control, and then tap scanning style. Then tap a scanning style. You can have auto scanning, which moves focus automatically after a specified duration. Manual scanning, which requires a switch to be engaged to move focus and a second to activate items. Single switch step scanning, which requires a switch to be engaged to move focus, and if no action is taken within a certain amount of time, the item in focus will automatically be activated. We look at how to change auto scanning time. This will change how long it takes for switch control to automatically scan through items on a screen. Once you are on accessibility and switch control, tap auto scanning time. Tap the plus and minus buttons to increase or decrease the time. How to enable pause on first item. If you get to a screen but need a second to get your bearings, you can enable pause on first item and scanning won't start until you say so. Again, once you're on switch control, tap pause on first item. Then tap the pause on first item and you have the on and off switch. When the switch is green, the feature is enabled. Now we're going to look at how to change the number of loops. If you have noticed the screen, whenever the scanning is available, you can see that the scanning is looping from option to option. After each item on the screen has been visited a certain number of times, the cursor will become hidden. Here's how to change how many times the scan of loops happens. Once you are on the switch control options, you have the options in menu of tap loops. Tap that. Once you've tapped loops, tap a number and you can choose from 1 to 10 times. Right now, the number for loops is 2, but I can change this to 7 and I can show you what it means by changing the number of loops. Right now, the scanning is going on, so it's going from here to here, that's once, then back to there, then back to the recording button, that's twice. That's now the third loop, then the fourth loop is completed, and the fifth loop, and the sixth, and then finally the seventh loop, and then auto scanning completely disappears. That's it, finished. How to enable move repeat. If you need a little more time, move repeat will repeat the delay before move to next or previous item while a switch is pressed. In order to access this, again go to switch control and then find tap move repeat. Then tap the move repeat on and off switch. When the switch is green, the feature is enabled. How to enable and change the duration of long press. You can use long press to add another action to a switch that is activated when you hold it for a certain length of time. And here's how you enable it and change its duration. Once you're in switch control, find tap long press in the menu and then tap the move repeat on and off switch. When the switch is green, the feature is enabled. You can then tap the plus or minus button to increase or decrease the length of time you have to press before long press is engaged. How to change tap behaviour. Tap behaviour is what happens when the select action is activated. It displays the scanner menu by default. In order to access this, you have to go into tap switch control and then tap the tap behaviour option. After this, tap an option. You have either default, auto tap, where you can change the auto tap duration when it is enabled, just tap the plus and minus buttons that appear, or you can press always tap. How to change which item is focused after tapping. You can change the item that switch control scans after an item is tapped, and here's how you can do it. Once you're in the switch control menu, you can then tap focused item after tap. Then tap either first item or current item. How to enable always tap keyboard keys. All we need to do here is make your way down to the option of always tap keyboard keys and click on or off switch. When the switch is green, the feature is enabled. At this point, you can also do the how to enable extended predictions, and again this is found just below the keyboard keys option, and all you need to do is click on or off switch. When the switch is green, the feature is also enabled. How to enable and change hold duration. You can enable and modify a hold duration so that your adaptive device must be held for a certain amount of time before a press is recognised. And here's how you can do it. Again, once you're in switch control menu, you can scroll down to the option that says tap hold duration. Once you've selected this, tap the hold duration on and off switch. The switch is green, the feature is enabled. Tap the plus and minus buttons to lengthen or shorten the duration. How to enable ignore repeat. Ignore repeat is the time in which multiple presses are treated as a single input. The duration has to be less than the auto tap duration so that a double input press can be used. How we can enable this is by simply scrolling down to the Tap Ignore Repeat option in the menu of switch control. Tap the Ignore Repeat on or off switch, and when the switch is green, the feature is enabled. After this, tap the plus and minus buttons to change the duration. How to change the gliding cursor speed. You can change the speed at which the gliding cursor moves across the screen, and here's how you can do it. Once you're in the switch control options, slide down to the gliding cursor speed option and tap it. Then tap the selection mode that you want. Tap the plus or minus button to increase or decrease the speed, and that is you finished. If you'd like to enable sound effects, all you need to do is scroll down to the sound effects option and click the on and off switch. When the switch is green, the feature is enabled. You want to enable speech in the switch control? It is very simple. All you need to do is go down to the option Tap Speech and click on it. Then you can tap the speech on and off switch, and then tap and drag the slider left or right to change the speaking rate. The right is faster and the left is slower.
77%. Speak item attributes onto pause while speak 76%. 50 switch control speech heading speech.
If you want, you can also change the speech voice in switch control. All you need to do is go to speech, then tap voices and tap the voice that you want to use. From here you will be able to hear what the voice sounds like. If you want, you can also download some of the voices before you can use them.
Settings, heading to
Settings, heading to speech button. Settings, heading to speech. Settings, heading to speech.
Settings, head English button.
Settings, heading English. Settings, heading speech button. English settings, heading to English button. Settings.
We are now going to look at how to change menu items in switch control. You can do this by tapping on menu items in the switch control option. Tap a menu, it can either be top level, gestures, device or settings. Then tap a menu item to disable or enable it. After this, tap, hold and drag the reorder button. These are the three horizontal lines to reorder menu items. Tap the switch next to show streamlined first page to enable or disable it. Having it enabled will make only the most important menu items be shown on the first page of the menu. How to enable, disable group items. Grouping items allows for faster navigation. In order to do this, scroll right down to the group items option and tap on it. Then tap on the on and off switch. When the switch is green, the feature is enabled. How to enable the large cursor. Once you have went to switch control, tap the large cursor on and off switch. When the switch is green, the feature is enabled. You can also change the cursor colour, and you can do this by tapping colour and then selecting either blue, red, green, yellow or orange. How to create a new gesture? Go to Save Gestures at the bottom of the switch control options and tap Create New Gesture. Tap or swipe to create a custom gesture. Then tap Stop in the bottom right corner when you have finished making your gesture. Tap Save in the top right corner of your screen when you're finished. Type in a name for your new gesture and tap Save. Remember, you can tap Record if you want to redo your gesture before saving. Any new gestures will now appear as an item under Saved Gestures.